What's the difference between a tax strategy and tax prep? It's a massive difference. So in this video, we're going to talk about why tax strategy will outperform tax prep. Now, there's prep in the strategy for some people, but it's not for all. Most CPAs just prep and they just file. And you have no strategy for the next year. They're just being an historian to the year before. So let's talk about the actual definition of prep versus strategy. Number 2, why most CPAs don't strategize. And number 3, how the wealthy legally pay less on an ongoing basis. It's historically known. So stay to the end to hear those wealth secrets, I'll call them. They're really not secrets, they're strategies. So let's talk about the difference and what's the definition of tax prep versus a tax strategy. Tax prep records what already happened, again, the historian. Tax strategy changes the outcome before it happens, so I call it forecasting forward. So one is reactive, the other is proactive. So where are you living? The tax code by fax, right? You're going to see stuff as low as 75,000 pages. You add all sorts of incentives, the big beautiful bill. It's going to be upward of 83,000 pages, probably by the end of 2026. So it ranges. It depends on the administration, what gets taken away and what gets added in. Business owners using tax strategy usually save, get this number, 20 to 40% annually by having a strategy versus just a once a year prep. Refunds are overpayment with no interest. So why are you giving basically the government a loan and saying, here, keep my money, don't pay me anything for it. And then once you calculate what I owe, letting the government do your plan versus having you have a plan, then you get back a little refund. Like anybody who in their conversation, because we have this Ask Loral page, it says if you can't ask a question, you can't start a conversation about money. So if the beginning part of your question is, hey, are you getting a refund? Like I'm hearing people say, I can't wait till January, I'll get my refund. And it's like, well, why'd you overpay in the first place, you idiot? Actually, the choice is yours. You have a plan. You've either designed it and you have a strategy, or you've done nothing and that's your plan. So let's talk about the prep versus a strategy. So the prep, again, it's historical. It's typically between January and April 15th. You're going to run over to buy a TurboTax software program or some sort of other tax software and try to do it yourself, which you're not a tax strategist. And our level of tax strategist, and even a CPA, they've gone to school for a minimum of 4 years and usually have 2 years of audit experience at a firm. So they're 6 years in minimum. If you get a master's of accounting, some of ours are 7, 8 years in. Surgeons go to school for about that long. So you're not a surgeon, you don't do your own surgeries. So I say, why are you thinking that you could even tackle the tax code? You might go to H&R Block. So all of that is put aside. That is not what we're talking about. That is the preppers. So the preppers are the people between January and April 15th, where you had no strategy the year before. You're just hoping you can, manipulate 2025 as you're in between January and April 15th of 2026. The game's over. What you did is what you did. You can't change the history. What we do differently is we come into the year with tax strategy and planning. So we're not paying tax because our clients are designed to make money inside companies. Companies pay tax in September 15th exactly. And then you, the owner of the companies, pay tax October 15th, not April. April is insignificant to wealth builders and really smart entrepreneurs. So why are you paying in April 15th? Why do you want a refund? You want a strategy. You want to sit with somebody and say, 2026, this is what I'm making, or whatever year that you're listening to this video. I want a strategy to know that I'm going to come in and pay less than 20% in total tax. So this is actually a predictable equation for someone who actually has the experience and skills to put a strategy together. Any CPA can file a tax return. That's what their job is, right? So that's just the filing, writing their returns. Most of them, because they're now liable by the United States government, or the government of whatever country you're listening to this video in, they actually get more conservative because they don't want to take the risk, is what they'll say, and that's what you'll hear from them. I don't want to take the risk of taking a home office. It might trigger an audit. A home office is not going to trigger an audit. What triggers audits in this day and age are sole proprietors or really ill-formed companies where you're not using the company right. So that's where you're getting most of the audits, or you do something extremely elaborate, like you've gone from TurboTax and hardly using any % of the code to now trying to stretch out and use the entire tax code, and you have a very different pattern interrupt to the IRS. So, and that, for those of you around the world, is an Internal Revenue Service of the United States. You all have your version of this tax service in your countries. So if you're an individual and you have 3 companies, well, maybe by year 2, you might have 4 companies. And then you had a huge growth spurt year 3, so now you have 7 companies. So that's a predictable pattern that's not going to cause an audit. And the prep kind of CPAs or tax folks are going to say that it will. It won't. And the other secondary part that's behind that is making sure that your companies have compliance documents. So you're also probably been told that an LLC does not have to have company minutes. That's not true. You need to document your shareholder meetings, and you need to document your member manager meetings. You need to document any big resolutions if you choose new health care for your whatever company, any sort of big financial, say insurance, buying new equipment, a significant hire, a significant capital improvement. You need to document those. And even if you're a single member LLC, you want to get in the behavior of documenting properly. Why don't most CPAs strategize and forecast forward? Right? That's again a term I've made up because it gives you a better visual. I'm going to forecast forward. I'm going to say how much you're going to make in 2026. What are you going to make month by month? What's Q1 total? And then you're doing reviews minimum on a quarterly basis. Our higher net worth people and some of us, I meet weekly about where your numbers are. For every dollar you make, whether it's in the income column or you got passive income from an asset, it causes a tax issue to happen. So you need to be maintaining, as you're growing your income, you need to be just as important watching your tax burden as you go along and making sure you have strategies. So making sure that you have the right deductions. Do you need to buy a vehicle? Do you need to employ your children? Do you need to do some gifting? Do you need to do the Augusta rule? Do you need some R&D credits? Like you need to look at all of it and actually put it into play versus at the end say, all right, what did I do? And then get a scorecard at the end. You want to actually design the scorecard January 1 of the year prior versus go to January 1 and say, oh, let's look back and see what I do. You can't change the past. So if this is interesting to you and you want to live in this side of the world, we call ourselves entrepreneurs and wealth builders because that's what we design here at Integrated Wealth Systems. I want you to subscribe to this channel. I want to help you understand that this behavior of what I call living corporate life is available to every one of you from 18 and up. You can't be too young, 18 as a legal adult. And even if you're under 18, you're watching this video with mom and dad, they should be getting you a company on your 18th birthday if you're really aggressive about this, because you all have legal intent to own a company. You have a legal intent to go make money. So subscribe to this channel, click that notification button, and listen to the videos every day. Don't make assumptions about some of the first words you hear and say, oh, I know what she's going to talk about, or do you know that content? Instead, maybe build yourself a playlist of all the videos in that content, because you're going to hear one word and all the different variations of the direction I take those conversations, from gap analysis to how do you pay off credit cards. Do you carry a debit card around? Like, how do you do anything behavioral in your life? It's here on this channel. So play through those. And in fact, if you want to, why don't you binge watch my channel for 25 hours? For those of you who binge watch my channel, I'm going to give you $750 of a credit towards new tuition of something that you want to learn more about with us at our company. Why the wealthy pay less legally than anyone else? So when any administration says we're going to tax the rich, the controlled rich are those that get a paycheck. So that's the $250,000 employee, it's the $500,000 employee, it's the $1.2 million employee, because employment tax goes through payroll, goes through the IRS, and you can actually track your taxes. You can track the taxable income. Inside of a company in America, the companies make money. You have the right to do all the deductions, and then you pay tax on what's left. So we use the entire tax code, right? So I always say there's about 81,000 pages of tax code in that range, and it varies. So when you activate the entire tax code on a bunch of companies that you own and your companies make money, you don't, that's the strategy, that's the playbook, that's what will help you put together. So if you'd like a one-on-one session with one of our team members to talk about how we could help put this into your life, click on the link below, get a gap analysis. If you don't have the gap analysis, don't understand it, make sure you download the book if you haven't downloaded it already. I also want you to attend a Millionaire Intensive. A Millionaire Intensive it's a 2-hour event. And this is starting in January 2026. We've changed the format because you'll hear other videos say it's a once a month, 8-hour event. It's 2 hours. It's the first Thursday of every month. And you want to listen to it. You want to really lean in and say, how do I live this corporate life to have this kind of a tax strategy? How do I have a better insurance policy? How do I actually pay off my debt? How do I manage my assets, my liabilities? How do I actually grow my income? All those conversations happen here at Integrated Wealth Systems. We'll be back tomorrow with another video, but make sure you always go over to askloral.com. We're there 24/7, ASKLORAL. Ask a question, make a request. We'll be right back at you.